Welcome. My name is Jim, and I'll be the guide for tonight's meditation session. Let's begin by getting comfortable. You can be seated, kneeling, reclining on the floor, on a couch, in a chair. You can even be floating in your hot tub, whatever works for you. You want to be comfortable, but alert. We're not trying to fall asleep. Let's let our eyes soften. Either look down to the floor or just look off into the horizon. Try to keep your neck and spine in alignment, stacking the vertebrae. That tends to help us keep us alert. Adjust your posture and scratch whenever needed. But just be aware. Beware the monkeys playing their games, right? Sometimes when we fidget, it's because we're physically uncomfortable and need to, change our posture, change our position. But other times, it's because our brain is bored, our mind is playing tricks on us. Just try to understand why it is that you're moving about. It is tough to sit still, and it's normal to fidget. Ideally, you're going to be breathing through your nose. Nasal breathing triggers the calming rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system, as opposed to the fight or flight response that's associated with mouth breathing. So for a moment, just let your monkeys run wild. Listen to the sounds around you. Let your thoughts bounce wherever they need to go. Maybe identify and dismiss those distractions. There's the fan. There's the sound of the clock. There's some vehicles driving by the building. The sound of the person next to you shifting their body. But as soon as you can, try to dial in, narrow in on the sound of your own inhale and exhale. The yoga self, the yoga body, has 5 shells or koshas nested within one another. Maybe think of them like layers of an onion or Russian nesting dolls. And it's useful to examine these koshas, examine these parts of ourselves before and after meditation, before and after yoga, before and after your daily activities. It's a way to set a baseline and then come back later and see if whatever it is you've been doing has had an impact for better or worse. Your outer shell, your outer body, it's called your anamaya kosha, muscles, joints, skin. This is check in. What's loose, what's tight, what feels good. If something's hurting you, why is it hurting you? Too much exercise over the weekend, too much sitting on the couch. Likewise, if something feels really good, why? Do you give it extra rest, massage, good workout? Can you feel the impact of the weather, the seasons on your outer body? Drier skin, itchiness from the pool's chlorine, poison ivy, sunburn. Just check in and feel. The second layer, second shell, is called your pranayama kosha. And you can think of that as your energy levels, your breathing, your flow of energy. Is it that stereotypical ideal ocean wave up and down of the chest or in and out of the breath? Are you loose? Are you tight? Are there blockages? We talk about this a lot. Your breathing when you take exercise classes or yoga or swim. And the idea there is, it helps you manage your energy. But it's also, if you think about it, it is a way to check in for your health, right? To see if you know what your baseline is, then when your allergies kick in or your asthma kicks in, you can identify it early, catch it early, maybe divert it. Or likewise, if you're aware of your respiration, You might be able to tell when you start to become anxious, having a panic attack. And again, nip it in the bud. Next shell, your Manamaya Kosha. Think of that as your thoughts, your daily action-oriented mind. Are you here and now right now? Or are you somewhere else? Walking the dog, paying the bills, making dinner, doing the homework? Your brain, our brains consume something like 20% of our energy. Evolution has taught our mind, our brain, to always be looking ahead to predict if there's danger around the corner. Is that a saber-toothed tiger right outside my cave door, etc.? And because evolution has taught us this, and we're so wrapped up in that, oftentimes we're not able to just forget and be here and now. Let's try that this evening while we're here. Just you're in a nice, safe environment. There's no saber-toothed tigers. We don't have to be thinking about what's happening 5 days from now. We don't have to be agonizing over something that we said or did a month ago. Next layer, next shell, is your Vijnanamaya Kosha, your observing mind. Often you might think of it as your witness, your internal voice. Is that internal dialogue even-keeled and fair today? Or is it dishonest and petty? Dishonest. That's a big word, but or a loaded word. But by that I mean we want to try to find a version of ourselves, a version of our voice that is honest and kind, especially to our own self. And I like to think of it as angel on one shoulder, devil on the other. The angel or the good guy is so nice to you. The good guy is the voice that says, you are a superstar. No matter what you do, you are right. Everyone else is wrong. You're the best in the world. Blah, blah, blah. And on the other side, you maybe have the other voice. You're stupid. You're dumb. You dress funny. You're never going to be good enough. That kind of voice. You want to kind of find the right, happy medium. And finally, the innermost shell is called your Anandamaya Kosha. You might think of it as your spiritual self, your inner self, your flowing, blissful. I like to think of it as a measurement or a level of contentment. With all the many wonderful things I have in my life and my family and my possessions, is that enough? Or am I always going for more and more and more and more? Can I be content, grateful for all the good things I do have, rather than always be agonizing and fretting about what I can't control? So we'll begin with what's called a loving kindness meditation. And the idea here is kind of funny. The idea is, again, it takes so much energy to go through life holding grudges, for instance, carrying past mistakes, shame around. If we can somehow lighten that load, we have more time to be a better person. We have more time to do our yoga, more time to do our meditation. It's a fairly effective and simple activity, loving kindness meditation. We want to cultivate goodwill towards ourselves and others. So let's try this little experiment. Imagine you're standing in your bathroom looking in the mirror, looking right into your own eyes. And we say to ourselves, may I be well, happy, and at peace. May no harm come to me. May I have the strength to overcome the inevitable challenges of life. May I always show up for others with compassion and mindfulness. Now, imagine you're looking into the eyes of a loved one, your best friend, your favorite stuffed animal, your favorite dog, cat, whatever. Look into their eyes and say, may I be well. May you be happy and at peace. May you be well, happy, and at peace. May no harm come to you. May you have the strength to overcome the inevitable challenges of life. And may you always show up for others with compassion and mindfulness. Now, the tough one. Imagine you're sitting close and looking into the eyes of someone who maybe you have conflict with, or maybe an outright, I don't want to say enemy, but an outright non-friend. May you be well, happy, and at peace. May no harm come to you. May you have the strength to overcome the inevitable challenges of life. And may you always show up for others with compassion and mindfulness. Remain with your breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We're going to begin in a couple of minutes a Vipassana meditation. That's a breathing-based awareness meditation. Your breathing point will be the focal point, and hopefully that eventually produces a relaxation response within you. There's different tricks we can use. You can count. Every inhale you say to yourself 1, and then 2, and then 3. Or you can say a mantra. So for instance, upon inhale, I'll say to myself the one syllable word va. And upon exhale, sa. Va and sa. It's meaningless words, but it kind of gets into repetition. And I've found over time, the more I do this, va and sa, as soon as I start to utter those syllables, I can feel myself relaxing and starting to get into my meditative state. So I challenge you, I encourage you to try it. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Ba and sa. Maybe you feel the cool air as you inhale. And then the slightly warmer upon your upper lip as you exhale. You're not controlling it. You're not altering your normal breathing pattern. It's just as if it's playing on repeat in the background. Va and sa, in or out, or you're counting. But feel it somewhere in your body. Maybe you feel the breath passing through the nose. Say, I can feel the air conditioner. I can feel the heat of the room and how it impacts the nostrils. Or maybe you feel it in your chest or rib cage, the chest rising and then falling, and the rib cage opening up to the sides and contracting again upon exhale. Notice that there is a beginning, middle, and end of each breath. In fact, there's a beginning, middle, and end of each inhale and of each exhale. Maybe as you're inhaling, imagine a balloon, right? Expanding little by little. It's half full. It's starting to take shape. Now it's really expanding. It's strong. And at the end, just enough air into it. It's a nice, well-formed, full, strong balloon. And then you begin the exhalation. It starts to deflate. It starts to lose its shape. And finally, it's empty. Just imagine the breath. So you want to focus on this for the next few minutes. Your mind will wander away from the breath. That's expected. I've been to some classes where I've actually seen people smack themselves in the head out of anger, frustration, because, my mind wandered. I'm a loser. I can't meditate. Those people are 180 degrees wrong, in the wrong direction. The idea behind this type of meditation is that your mind will wander. And you can gain insight because of that wandering. So when your mind starts to wander, you can catch it. And then pull yourself back to the focal point. In this case, our breathing, or it could even be looking at a candle, for instance. But the idea is, we notice we wander, and then we pull back to our point of meditation, our breathing or our candle. But you take half a second to figure out why it is or how it is that your mind wandered. Was it because you're physically uncomfortable, well, then change your position. Or maybe it's you're too amped up. You had too much caffeine this afternoon. Just, whatever the reason is, or maybe you have a big exam coming up, or you're anxious about something else. Try to figure out why it is that you wandered away, and then use that as feedback to your next session. And in time, you'll find that maybe instead of wandering 10 times in 5 minutes, you're down to wandering 1 or 2 times in 5 minutes. You keep using that feedback loop to build a stronger concentration. So let's silently practice this for, I don't know, say just 5 or 6 minutes. Every minute, I will say something to just help you notice maybe if you started to wander. And then again, pull yourself right back and start over. So let's begin. In through the nose, out through the mouth, your own pace, va and sa. That's 1 minute. In through the nose, out through the mouth. That's 2 minutes. In and out, va and sa. Va and sa. And come on back. You can release the vas and sas and the mantras. Just sit in silence for a moment. And please make sure you're as comfortable as can be. At this point, for the remainder of the session, maybe you want to lie down in Savasana on your back, on the floor, on a couch, on your bed. My favorite posture at this point is usually scooch my butt as close as I can to the wall and put my legs up the wall, either with my thighs and calves flat on the wall, so I'm really close, my butt's really close to the wall, or I push back a little bit, my feet are flat on the wall, and my hips and knees are at 90 degrees. I find that comfortable. I'll guide us through a body scan type meditation. We often hear about or talk about or throw the words about, mind-body connection, hear those fancy words without really thinking about it. So, as I mention each body part, tense and release it. And let's really try to feel and think. Let's begin at the bottom of our feet, the soles of our feet. Can you locate, without touching, can you locate the bottom of your left foot dead center on the sole of the foot? That little tickle spot where we usually feel it on hot asphalt or sand. Find that spot. Or maybe on the opposite foot, find the heel, the pad, I'm not sure what else to call it, the pad beneath your big toe, and the pad beneath your small toe. Those 3 points in the bottom of your foot that we balance on all day long. We walk, we stand. And don't really realize that every time you're upright, those 3 points on each foot are wiggling, moving back and forth, side to side, trying to help us with our balance. Come up a little bit higher. Let's flex and release those ankles. We put a lot of pressure on those joints all day long. So as we rotate or flex and release the ankles, listen for creaking and cracking and any cranky pain sensations. And if you have that, then let's figure out how to take care of it. Moving up a little higher to the front of your lower legs, the shin. It's a thin layer of almost very thin muscle in the front there. We often don't think about that unless we happen to bang it on a piece of furniture, or if you're a runner and get the shin splints. Coming to the back of the leg, the big meaty calf muscle. Flex and release the ankles, and sometimes that calf muscle will relax. The calves and the quadriceps, a little higher, they act almost as a second heart in our bodies. So their job is when we stand up from being seated or lying on a bed, we stand up, those big muscles, their job is to pump blood and fluids back up towards the heart and head. And if you're dehydrated or if these muscles are too tight or otherwise not doing their job, you're going to get lightheaded. So again, just flex and release, feel the calf coming up to the quadricep, feel the quadricep. Quadricep's a big part of your body. It's one of the biggest muscles. I think of as my ice cream muscle. The more I keep that muscle loose and strong, the more ice cream it burns. Coming up to the back of the upper leg, your thighs. If you're lying down, feel them resting, relaxing, melting into the floor. Coming up to the hips. Take a moment and wiggle your jaw. Turns out that in the cellular division process, when your embryo is being formed, the hips and jaw come into existence at the exact same instant. I always find that funny because a lot of us hold stress in those two places. And I find that if I explicitly wiggle the jaw a few times, different directions, make circles, I can sometimes feel my hips relax. Coming up higher into the belly rising and falling with each breath. Maybe feel the ribs pressing out to the sides. If you're lying on your back, breathing can feel a lot different than if you were standing or seated. Something like 75% of our lungs are on the back of our body. So when you're lying down, you can really sometimes feel that in a way you don't otherwise. Going onto your back, starting with your tailbone, trace the vertebra all the way from the tailbone up to the nape of your neck. I think of it as like a bicycle chain. You have a link and then a space, a link, a space, a link, a space, a vertebra space, vertebra space, vertebra space. Again, checking for any tightness, any soreness. If a mouse was looking at you from the side, looking at your tail, your spine, it would look like a mountain range. And that shape is unique to you. It's based on your genetics, based on the stresses of life, the injuries of life, how you sit, how you stand, how you walk, what shoes you wear. It's a unique fingerprint. Coming around to the shoulder blades, the scapula. Feel them push into the mat. Push behind you if you're seated. When you push back like that, it allows the chest to open, a little easier to breathe. Imagine your favorite loved one, your favorite friend is kneeling behind you and gently pressing down into your shoulders. Rolling the shoulders up towards the ears a little bit and down to the floor. Again, opening the chest. Knuckles down, palms up. When the palms are up, the chest opens a little easier versus rotated inward. Shoulders, upper arm, lower arms, biceps, triceps. The wrists, flex and release. The hands and fingers. Can you feel left hand dead center of the palm without touching it? Your neck, big strong muscle. Let's us swivel our head, avoid danger. Through that neck passes our breathing, our food, our water, our voice. Your cheeks, your tongue, roof of the mouth, bottom of the mouth. Imagine a warm compress pressing down over your eye sockets, allowing those dozens and dozens of muscles surrounding the eyes to have a break. Forehead and scalp. So we just went through the koshas, or physical kosha, like we did earlier. Let's finish the other four. Checking with your breathing, your pranayama, your energy. You notice any change in the last half hour or so. Then onto your thoughts, your daily thoughts, your mind, your action-oriented mind. Was there any point we were so busy doing these little exercises that you weren't thinking about walking the dog, paying the bills, etc., etc.? And then your witness mind, that voice, the monologue. Is there any chance it's become a little more honest, and fair. And finally, the spiritual layer, the Anumana Kosha, that level of blissfulness or contentment. Where does that stand? It's important for you to know that you are not your thoughts. You are not your body. You're most certainly not your past mistakes. You are perfect as you are. There's always room to experiment, explore, but you don't have to change for anybody. You are perfect as you are. When ready, you can wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, roll over onto your side, and then push yourself back up to seated. Eyes closed or looking into the floor. Inhale, eyes open. We bow to ourselves. We bow to our neighbor. Thank you for taking this time to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody else. I hope you all have a nice evening. Thank you.